If you want to be successful, but it feels like life is working against you, keep watching. I have been the CEO and board member of tech companies that created billions in value. These are the 6 truths about success that will change how you think, how you act, and they will change your life. Truth number 1. The most controversial truth we can learn about success actually comes from physics. In physics, quantum particles exist in superposition, in multiple states at the same time. Until they're observed or acted upon, infinite possibilities exist, waiting to collapse into one reality. In my early 20s, I was in my own superposition. I could have become a full-time monk, or a full-time musician, or a math professor, or a tech entrepreneur, or a financial analyst on Wall Street. All were equally possible until events collapsed them into one real trajectory. Most of us panic when we don't know our one true path. But sometimes the opposite is true about success. Your career, your relationship, your opportunities, they all exist in this cloud of possibilities. Just because you're on one path today doesn't mean that all the other paths don't exist. They're all alive. They're waiting for you. So here's what you can do to align with your limitless potential. Let's learn from physics. First, keep multiple identities active. You're not just one thing. If you don't like who you are, you're not stuck. Your current state of life is not your only possible reality. It's one of countless many. Second, stay open to multiple ideas of you. Side hustles, small experiments, do it all, whatever it takes. In the age of AI, you're limited only by your imagination. And third, resist premature optimization. You know, your parents, your friends, your boss, your teachers, your society will always pressure you to pick a lane. But what does that even mean in today's world when no one knows where those lanes end? Truth number 2. Does luck really matter? Italian researchers ran a 40-year simulation with 1,000 virtual people. Each person was assigned a fixed level of talent, and each person was hit randomly with lucky or unlucky events. What they found was shocking. The most successful people weren't the most talented. They were the ones who got the most lucky breaks. Even in the real world, the same truth holds. Sundar Pichai, J.K. Rowling, Sam Altman, are they brilliant? Absolutely, but also brilliantly timed. You do have to have the minimum viable talent to seize the opportunity. But luck follows the mathematics of chance. You can't control when it strikes, but you can dramatically increase your exposure to it. More attempts equals high probability of favorable outcomes. It's not mystical, it's statistical. So how do you tilt the odds in your favor? 3 things come to mind. First, roll the dice more often. Take more swings at the target, and you will increase your chance of colliding with success. Next, get in the room. Talented but invisible people stay invisible. Try to get in the right room where you can surround yourself with the right people and the right opportunities. Luck shows up there quite often. And finally, do not confuse outcomes with self-worth. I used to do this a lot, but the system isn't fair, and Lady Luck isn't emotionally invested in you. Bad results don't mean bad you, and great results don't mean great you. Just keep playing the numbers. Remember, it's only randomness, not a referendum. Truth number 3, portfolio theory is one of my favorite secrets of success. Jeff Bezos built Amazon the way a savvy investor builds a winning portfolio. A few massive wins covering a lot of losses. There was a Fire phone, Amazon destination, Dash buttons, Fire TV, and so many other products that bombed so spectacularly. And Bezos would always shrug it off. He would say, "If you think that's a big failure, we're working on a much bigger failure right now." The strategy was deliberate. Run as many bets as you can, expect 80% of them to fail, make sure no single loss can sink the company. And then when something hits like Prime streaming, double down hard. That's how they went from selling books to Everything Store, the largest cloud provider, online advertising giant, and Amazon Prime. That's classic portfolio theory in action. In finance, portfolio managers expect 80% of their bets to fail. Hollywood studios know most movies will flop, but they all design their portfolios so that no single failure takes them out of the game. But most of us treat every failure as if it's a portfolio ending event. It's not. It's just one loss in a diversified strategy, if you plan it that way. One thing I learned from my personal journey from monk to CEO was to design my neural network for failures. I took crazy chances, failed 8 out of 10 times, but the 2 that worked were more than enough. Also, I always had a safety net. I always kept enough cash runway for about 9 to 12 months. Our goal is not to avoid risk. We want to make it survivable. So, whether you're building your career or your business, how can you design your life like a portfolio manager? First, size your bets properly. Avoid going all in and try to diversify your risk. Multiple income sources, a 6-month safety net, whatever works for you. Second, collect rejection like market data. Don't just take a no, get the reason behind it. Why did the investor pass? Why did they hire the other candidate? Failure is your market research. And third, build a feedback loop. Test fast, learn fast, pivot fast. Google's brilliance early on was that their algorithm ran 41 shades of blue links to test the one that users would click on. They would get instant feedback. If your rejection rate is under 80%, you're probably not taking enough shots. Truth number 4, the most powerful thing that made me successful, I could walk away. I trained as a monk in my late teens, not because I had something to walk away from, but because I thought I had already lost everything. No identity, no career, no money, no purpose, no direction. And I used to wander across villages of Western and Northern India. And I remember one very cold night, I was sitting alone on a train station, staring at the glaring light of an incoming steam engine. The train was just heading my way on that moonless night. And for a second, just for a second, a thought entered my mind. What if I just jumped? Fortunately, I was so completely paralyzed and petrified, I didn't do it. Now, please, I was young and I think I was depressed. No one should ever have such thoughts. If you ever feel like that, I have linked some resources in this video description for you. Please get help. That moment has never left me. I don't store it as a memory of a trauma. I store it as a moment of clarity about what real hopelessness feels like. A moment of clarity that I was running scared, running from life, running from love, running from myself. Here's what I've learned. You can build a life that looks full in public and still feels empty in private. All Eastern traditions, Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, they don't define success by how much you achieve. They define it by how lightly you hold what you have. It's not what you run to, it's what you can walk away from. When you let go of the visible trappings of success like titles and trophies and timelines, you stop tormenting yourself trying to become someone you're not. So practice walking away from meetings that drain you, roles that distort you, product features that don't make sense, partners who can't love you. Say no with grace and sincerity, but walk away with strength. That way, you can play your own game with your own rules. Because self-realization, at least to me, means walking away from someone else's idea of you and your successful life. Next is truth number 5. Everyone feels like an imposter. When I walked into my first board meeting as a CEO, I was early. One of my board members asked where the coffee machine was, and I walked him there. He's the board member. And then on the way, I realized that was just a setup, because then he stopped and put his hand on my shoulder and asked, "How's your imposter syndrome doing?" And I paused and I laughed and I thanked him for asking. Now, years later, I get to sit on boards surrounded by big titles and big egos and even bigger paychecks. And I see the gravity of that question. Most successful people still feel like we snuck in through the side door, that one day someone will find out. This is what psychology tells us. We think success makes us more confident, but most of the time, it just makes us better at pretending like we are. Because the more competent you are, the more aware you become of your own blind spots. But that sense of discomfort is exactly why they keep growing even after achieving great success. If you don't feel it, you're never stretching. Here's how you can tackle the uncomfortable feeling of that imposter syndrome. First, normalize your doubts. Feeling like a fraud doesn't mean you are fake. It just means that you are a work in progress, always evolving, always growing. Embrace your inner imposter. And second, when you feel that old anxious engine revving up again, take a pause. Stop working, breathe deep, rewire, reorient, refuel. I call it strategic laziness. Sometimes doing nothing is the most productive thing you can do. And finally, remember that you'll never feel fully ready. That's fine. No one ever does. Lastly, truth number 6. Repetition is the leading indicator of success. The science of machine learning and AI can actually teach us a lot about how repetition influences success. Machines learn by relentless repetitions, tirelessly adjusting every little weight in that neural network, iteration after iteration, millions of times. They don't spiral when they fail, they don't get bored, they just adjust one more time with total emotional detachment and keep going. Well, they're machines. The main goal is to be less wrong next time around. Every language model, image classifier, the recommendation engines, they're all trained exactly the same way. And the same is true for humans too. Roger Federer trained for years and years to make each stroke look effortless. It was poetry. Serena Williams hit the same serve hour after hour, month after month, year after year, until it was second nature to her. Simone Biles perfected each micro movement through thousands of repetitions. And Michael Jackson drilled that famous pirouette of his tens of thousands of times. Just him, his mirror, silence, and sweat. Grit over glam. But here's the paradox. Most of us would rather have overnight success, right? Your real superpower, though, isn't inspiration. It's those systematic, mundane iterations. So here's how you can build your algorithm of achievement to succeed. First, build loops, not ladders. Don't aim to climb up fast, aim to repeat more. Find the one or two things that actually matter in your role and really get good at it. Work hard to make them second nature. Next, track your iterations. Just like machine learning models track loss functions and make slight adjustments to minimize the error, you should track your delta. What did you get right? What was wrong? What's that 1% tweak that you can make? Keep doing that over and over again. And finally, I've said this before, fall in love with the hard and boring stuff. The world is full of smart people who burned out as fast as they rose up. Most people chase dopamine. The real ones chase the dullness of repeated effort over and over and over again. If this resonated, please share it with someone you care about. And then go write your own success story. Not the one the world expects you to write, but the one you will be happy with 50 years from now. Thank you, and I love you.